The Riverside Grand Estate had always been my sister Victoria's dream venue. Ever since we were kids, she'd torn pictures from bridal magazines, circling this exact location with red marker. "This is where successful people get married," she'd tell me, 11 years old and already mastering our mother's particular brand of cruelty. I was 29 now, standing in the marble foyer of that very estate, watching Victoria glide across the imported Italian tile like she owned the place. He didn't, of course. But neither did she know who actually did. "Can you believe they're giving me the entire grounds for my wedding?" Victoria announced to our assembled family, Mom, Dad, our Aunt Patricia, and our two cousins James and Rebecca. The gardens, the ballroom, even the vintage wine cellar for the reception. "It's going to be absolutely perfect. Because you deserve perfection, sweetheart," Mom cooed, adjusting Victoria's engagement ring so it caught the chandelier light. "You've worked so hard to get where you are." Victoria worked as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company. It was a good job. Respectable. The kind of career our parents could brag about at their country club. The kind that came with a salary that could almost afford a venue like the Riverside Grand Estate. Almost. I knew because I'd reviewed the venue's pricing structure just last week during my quarterly financial review. The full estate rental ran $45,000 for a weekend, plus catering minimums, plus the dozen other fees that made weddings at prestigious venues so memorably expensive. "And where are you thinking of having your wedding, Emma?" Aunt Patricia asked me, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Whenever you finally find someone, of course." "I'm not engaged," I said simply. "Still." Victoria's laugh was crystalline, practiced. "You're almost 30. Most women your age are already married with kids." "Different timelines for different people," I replied. "Different expectations too," Dad added, not looking up from his phone. "Some people aim for elegance. Others are more practical." I'd heard variations of this speech my entire life. Victoria was the golden child. Beautiful, charming, ambitious in ways our parents understood. I was the practical one. The quiet one. The one who'd chosen to work at a little property management company, instead of pursuing something impressive. That's what they thought anyway. "The catering alone is going to be $18,000, Victoria continued, scrolling through her phone. "But James said he'd help with some of the costs, didn't you, James?" Our cousin nodded uncomfortably. James ran a moderately successful real estate firm. He was always the family member people turned to when they needed money, which meant he was always writing checks to maintain his position as the generous one. "Of course," James said. "Family helps family." "Some family," Victoria amended, her eyes sliding to me. "The family members who actually contribute something." I kept my expression neutral. I'd learned years ago that reacting only fed into their narrative. Better to stay quiet, stay calm, let them underestimate me. It served me well so far. "Emma, maybe you could help with the wedding favors," Mom suggested. "You know, something simple. Within your budget." "I can do that," I agreed. "Perfect." Victoria clapped her hands together. "I was thinking custom French soaps from that boutique in the city. They're only $40 each and I need about $8,000 for soap." "That might be outside my range," I said carefully. "Of course it is," Victoria sighed dramatically. "That's fine. I should have known better than to ask. You probably shop at discount stores, don't you?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "How sad," Aunt Patricia murmured. The venue coordinator approached our group then, a young woman named Sarah with an iPad and an efficient smile. I recognized her immediately. She'd been working at the estate for 3 years, ever since I'd acquired the property as part of a larger real estate portfolio. "Miss Blackwood," Sarah addressed Victoria. "I wanted to confirm a few details about your event." "Of course." Victoria's voice took on the sugary tone she used with service workers. "I want everything to be absolutely perfect." "Naturally. Now, regarding the ceremony location, you've selected the Rose Garden, correct?" "Yes, with the white arbor." "Is that still available?" "It is, though I should mention we have another wedding the day before yours, so setup will need to happen early Saturday morning." Victoria's smile tightened. "How early?" "Probably around 6 a.m. We'll be as quiet as possible, but there might be some noise." "That's unacceptable. I'm paying a premium for this venue. I expect better service." I watched Sarah's professional mask slip for just a moment. She didn't know Victoria could be like this, demanding, entitled, treating anyone in a service position like they were inferior. I understand your concern, Ms. Blackwood. Let me see what we can do. Don't see what you can do, Victoria interrupted. Just make it happen. That's literally your job. Victoria, I said quietly. She's trying to help. My sister whirled on me. Oh please. When have you ever managed anything more complicated than cleaning an apartment? This is a real event, Emma. And the kind of place someone like you could never afford. Never afford? I repeated softly. Don't even think about booking here, Victoria continued, her voice rising. Not for your wedding, not for any event. This venue is for successful people. People who've actually accomplished something with their lives. Mom stepped forward, placing a hand on Victoria's arm, not to restrain her but to show solidarity. Know your place, dear, Mom said to me, her voice gentle but cutting. There's nothing wrong with having a smaller wedding at a more appropriate venue when your time comes. I nodded quietly. The silence that followed felt heavy with satisfaction. Their satisfaction at putting me in my place, at maintaining the family hierarchy that had existed since childhood. Then Sarah cleared her throat. Excuse me, Miss Blackwood, she said to Victoria. Before we continue, I need to address something with. She turned to me. Ma'am, where should we put your sister's security deposit? Victoria blinked. What? The deposit, Sarah repeated, looking at me. Standard procedure is to check with ownership before processing family member bookings. I'm sorry, Victoria said slowly. What are you talking about? Sarah's eyes widened slightly, and I could see her realizing she'd just revealed something I'd kept deliberately quiet. I apologize, I assumed you knew. Your sister owns the Riverside Grand Estate. She has for the past 3 years. The marble foyer, with all its imported elegance and crystal chandeliers, went completely silent. That's ridiculous, Victoria said finally. Emma works at a property management company. She barely makes enough to. I don't work at a property management company, I said quietly. I own one. Sterling Property Group. We manage 43 luxury properties across the state. This is one of them. Dad's phone clattered to the floor. You're lying, Victoria breathed. The deed is public record, I replied. I purchased the estate in 2021 for $2.3 million. The property value has since appreciated to approximately $3.1 million. Sarah nodded, pulling up information on her iPad. Ms. Emma Blackwood, sole proprietor of Sterling Property Group LLC. Primary owner of. Stop, Mom whispered. Just stop. But Sarah was scrolling now, her professional mask firmly back in place. The Riverside Grand Estate, the Harborview Event Center, the Metropolitan Hotel downtown, the Oakwood Country Club. The Oakwood. Aunt Patricia gasped. That's where we have our membership. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Blackwood acquired it last year. Beautiful property. I watched my family process this information, their faces cycling through disbelief, confusion, and finally, the dawning horror of understanding. The country club, Dad said faintly. You own our country club. I own several clubs, I corrected gently. The Oakwood is just one property in the portfolio. Victoria's face had gone pale beneath her makeup. So when I booked this venue, you submitted a booking request like any client. Sarah and her team processed it normally. I saw your name on the calendar but didn't interfere. You seemed excited about the venue. You let me book my own wedding at your property without telling me? You seemed to prefer thinking I was unsuccessful, I said. I didn't see any reason to correct you. How? Mom demanded. How could you possibly afford? Where did you get the money? I started the company 7 years ago with a small commercial property I bought using money I'd saved. I renovated it, rented it out, used the profits to buy another property. Then another. I built it carefully, reinvesting profits, taking calculated risks. 7 years, Rebecca murmured. You've been doing this for 7 years and never said anything? Why would I? I asked simply. Every family gathering, every holiday, I heard about how I was the practical one, the simple one, the one without ambition. It seemed easier to let you believe that than to argue. James had pulled out his own phone, searching frantically. Sterling Property Group, he read aloud. Privately held real estate investment and management company. Portfolio value estimated at, holy shit, Emma. Language, Mom said automatically. Then, how much? The portfolio is currently valued at approximately $47 million, I said. Give or take, depending on market fluctuations. Victoria sat down heavily on one of the venue's antique chairs. $47 million? It's not all liquid assets. Most of that is property value. The actual operating capital is smaller. How much smaller? Dad asked hoarsely. The company maintains liquid reserves of about $8 million for operations and opportunities. Sarah cleared her throat delicately. Ma'am, about the deposit. Process it normally, I told her. Standard family discount though, 20% off the venue fee. No, Victoria said suddenly. No, I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's our standard family member rate. We have it listed in the booking policies. You have a family rate? Mom asked faintly. Of course. Several of our properties have hosted events for employees' families. It seemed only fair to extend the same courtesy to my own family. The words hung in the air, the implications settling like dust. You would have given me a discount, Victoria said slowly. If we just treated me with basic respect? I finished gently. Probably. Though to be fair, you never asked. You just assumed I couldn't afford to be here. Aunt Patricia had been silent, but now she spoke up, her voice sharp with sudden panic. The Oakwood Country Club. Our membership dues are coming up next month. They are, I confirmed. And you own it. I do. So you could just cancel our membership? I tilted my head, considering. I could. The club has a fairly standard contract though. I'd need cause, violation of club rules, harassment of staff, that sort of thing. The implication was clear. My family had spent years treating service workers, people they considered beneath them, with casual cruelty. And now one of those service workers' family members owned their playground. Emma, Dad started, his voice taking on a placating tone I'd never heard before. Sweetheart, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? I asked mildly. We never meant to suggest you weren't successful. We're proud of you, of course we are. We just didn't realize that I was rich? I supplied. That changes things, doesn't it? That's not fair, Mom protested. Isn't it? 5 minutes ago Victoria told me not to even think about booking here because I'm not successful enough. Now that you know I own it, suddenly you want to talk about misunderstandings and pride. Sarah was trying very hard to look invisible, her attention fixed firmly on her iPad. I felt bad for putting her in this position, but there was no graceful way to exit the conversation now. The wedding, Victoria said suddenly. I can't have my wedding at your venue. It would be too weird. Why? I asked. It's a beautiful property. You've been dreaming about it since we were kids. The fact that I own it doesn't change the rose garden or the ballroom or the vintage wine cellar. But everyone would know. Everyone would know that my little sister owns the venue, that I needed her property for my perfect wedding. Only if you tell them, I pointed out. I certainly wasn't planning to advertise it. Victoria's hands were shaking slightly. How long have you been sitting on this? How long have you been letting us think you were nobody? I'm not nobody, I said quietly. I never was. I just wasn't what you wanted me to be. My phone buzzed then. A text from Marcus Chin, my business partner and the company's CFO. Deal closed on the Westbrook property. Congratulations, you're now the owner of a $12 million historic inn. I glanced at the message and slipped the phone back into my pocket. I need to go, I said. Sarah, process everything normally for Victoria's wedding. Full family discount, standard payment schedule. Wait, Dad said. Emma, we should talk about this. Should we? Because we've had 29 years to talk, and this is the first time you've seemed interested in what I actually do. That's not true. Dad, 3 Christmases ago you asked me if I still worked at that little management place. Last Thanksgiving, Mom suggested I apply to be Victoria's secretary because at least then I'd be near success. And 2 weeks ago when I mentioned buying a new car, Aunt Patricia laughed and asked if I meant a used Honda. Aunt Patricia had the grace to look embarrassed. I bought a Tesla, I continued. Paid cash. But I didn't correct her because I've learned there's no point. You all decided who I was supposed to be and nothing I said was going to change that. So you just let us think you were poor? Victoria demanded. For years. I let you underestimate me, I corrected. There's a difference. Sarah's iPad chimed. He glanced at it, then at me, then at Victoria. Miss Blackwood, the younger Miss Blackwood, I'm going to step away and give you some privacy. But I'll need your signature on the deposit agreement before you leave today. Which Blackwood? Victoria asked bitterly. You, Sarah clarified. Though technically both of you will need to sign, you as the client, and Ms. Emma as the property owner approving family discount rates. She disappeared into the back office, leaving us in the foyer with its soaring ceilings and uncomfortable truths. I can't believe this, Mom said finally. All this time you've been, she gestured vaguely at the opulent surroundings. This, and you never said anything. Would you have believed me? I asked. If I'd told you 3 years ago that I owned this place, would you have believed me, or would you have assumed I was lying to make myself feel important? The silence was answer enough. That's what I thought, I said softly. James had been scrolling through his phone and now he looked up, his expression strange. Emma, it says here that Sterling Property Group just acquired the Westbrook Inn. That property's been on the market for 2 years. Everyone in real estate has been trying to get it. We closed this morning, I confirmed. That's a $12 million property. $11.8 million actually. We negotiated. Rebecca laughed suddenly, a slightly hysterical sound. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Our little cousin Emma, who we've been treating like trash. I supplied. Yeah, I noticed. I was going to say like a child, but sure, let's go with trash. Victoria stood abruptly. I need to think. This is my wedding. This is supposed to be my special day, and now it's going to be overshadowed by the fact that my sister secretly owns. She gestured around wildly. All of this. It doesn't have to be, I said. I told you I wasn't planning to advertise it. You can have your perfect wedding at your dream venue. The only difference is now you know who signs the checks. That's a pretty big difference, Emma. Is it? Or is it only different because you spent the last hour telling me I could never afford to be here? Victoria's face crumpled slightly. I didn't mean. You did mean it. You've always meant it. All of you have. I looked around at my family, at their shocked faces, their uncomfortable shifting. You decided I was less than Victoria, less than James, less than whoever met your arbitrary standards of success. And I let you believe it because it was easier than fighting you every single day. So this is revenge? Dad asked. You built a real estate empire just to prove us wrong? No, I said. I built a real estate empire because I'm good at it. Because I enjoy it. Because I wanted to create something meaningful. You all were just background noise. That seemed to hurt more than anything else I'd said. They wanted to be important to my success story, either as inspiration or obstacle. The idea that they were irrelevant was harder to process than the idea that they'd been wrong. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, media outlets are asking about the Westbrook acquisition. How do you want to handle it? I typed back, standard press release. Low key. Are you texting about business right now? Mom asked incredulously. The company doesn't stop because I'm at a family meeting, I replied. A family meeting where you just revealed you've been lying to us for years. I never lied, I interrupted. I just didn't correct your assumptions. There's a difference. Sarah emerged from the back office then, tactfully pretending the last 10 minutes hadn't happened. Miss Victoria, I have the contracts ready when you are. And Miss Emma, I'll need you to sign off on the family rate authorization. Of course. We followed her to the venue's office, a smaller, more intimate space with views of the rose garden where Victoria wanted her ceremony. The same rose garden she told me I could never afford to even dream about. Sarah pulled up the contracts on her computer. Standard venue rental, catering through our preferred vendor list, full use of grounds from Friday evening through Sunday morning. With the 20% family discount, the total comes to $36,000. Victoria winced at the number. We can set up a payment plan if needed, Sarah offered. Many clients prefer to split it across several months. I can pay it, Victoria said quickly. Then quieter, I can afford it. I know you can, I said. You're a regional sales manager. You make good money. You've been saving for this wedding for 2 years. You can absolutely afford it. She looked at me, then really looked at me, and I saw something shift in her expression. You knew how much I'd been saving? You mentioned it last Christmas. $42,000 set aside for the wedding. You remembered that? I remember most things, I said. You're my sister. Of course I pay attention. Victoria's eyes were suddenly bright with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. Emma, I'm so sorry. I've been so cruel, and you were just letting me plan my dream wedding even though you told me I'd never be good enough to have one here? I finished. Yeah. Why? She asked. Why would you still give me the family discount after everything I said? Because you're family, I said simply. And because this venue really is perfect for you. I bought it partly because I knew you'd always loved it. I thought maybe someday you'd want to have your wedding here and I could give you that. The tears spilled over then. I don't deserve that. Probably not, I agreed. But I'm giving it to you anyway. Sarah was tactfully focused on her computer screen, but I could see the slight smile on her face. Sign the contracts, I told Victoria. Have your perfect wedding. Post all the pictures you want. Just, maybe in the future, remember that people are more than what they appear to be. Victoria nodded, wiping her eyes, and reached for the pen Sarah offered. The contracts took 20 minutes to finalize. Standard terms, standard deposit schedule, everything processed exactly as it would be for any client, except for the 20% discount that saved Victoria $9,000. When we emerged from the office, the rest of the family was still in the foyer, looking shell-shocked. It's done, Victoria announced. I'm having my wedding here. Are you sure that's wise? Aunt Patricia asked carefully. It's my dream venue, Victoria said. And my sister owns it. That's actually kind of perfect. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Emma, Dad started. We owe you an apology. Several apologies, I corrected. But yes. We've treated you badly. We made assumptions. You made me feel worthless, I said quietly. For years, you made me feel like nothing I did mattered because I wasn't doing it your way. Do you know what that's like? To build something you're proud of and have your own family dismiss it because they can't see past their own prejudices. We didn't know, Mom began. You didn't ask, I interrupted. That's the problem. You never asked what I was doing or how it was going. You just assumed, and then you judged me based on those assumptions. James spoke up then. For what it's worth, I think it's incredible what you've built. $47 million in 7 years? That's genuinely impressive, Emma. Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I should have paid more attention. You all should have, I agreed. But you didn't, and now we're here. So what happens now? Rebecca asked. Do we just pretend the last hour didn't happen? No, I said. We acknowledge it happened and we move forward differently. Or we don't move forward at all. That's up to you. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from Marcus. I glanced at the screen. I need to take this. It's about the Westbrook property. Of course, Victoria said quickly. We should probably go anyway. Sarah will send you the confirmation email with all the details, I told her. And Victoria, I'm happy for you. I really am. You're going to have a beautiful wedding. She smiled, tentative and genuine. Thank you. I stepped away to answer the phone, leaving my family to process everything in the venue I owned, the venue Victoria had told me I'd never be good enough to enter. Marcus, what's up? The Westbrook deal is getting media attention, he said. Architectural Digest wants to do a feature on the renovation plans. And there's a reporter from Forbes calling about, get this, they want to interview you for their Real Estate Moguls Under 40 piece. I glanced back at my family. They were clustered together, talking in low voices. Victoria caught my eye and waved, a small, uncertain gesture. Tell Forbes yes, I said. But low-key. I don't need a cover or anything dramatic. Marcus laughed. Emma, you just closed an $11.8 million deal at 29 years old. You own $47 million in property. Low-key might not be an option anymore. Then we'll make it an option, I replied. That's what we do, we make impossible things possible. That's what I love about you, boss. Okay, I'll set it up. Conservative approach, focus on the business model, Downplay the personal wealth angle. Perfect. I ended the call and turned back to find Sarah waiting politely nearby. Your family is heading out, she said. But Miss Victoria wanted me to tell you she'll call you later. She seemed emotional. That's one word for it, I said. Sarah hesitated. For what it's worth, I think you handled that really well. It can't have been easy. It wasn't. But it needed to happen. I looked around the venue, at the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the soaring ceilings that had represented impossible elegance when I was a child. Thank you for being professional through all that. That's literally my job, she said with a smile. Though I have to admit, this was the most dramatic booking I've ever processed. Let's hope it's the last, I replied. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Victoria. I really am sorry. Thank you for not canceling my booking. And congratulations on everything you've built. I should have said that years ago. I typed back, better late than never. See you at dinner Sunday? Her response came immediately. Yes. Emma? I'll make sure everyone knows the venue is yours. You deserve that credit. I smiled and pocketed my phone. Outside, through the venue's floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the rose garden where Victoria would say her vows in 6 months. The white arbor she'd requested was already in place, elegant and timeless. It was a good venue. A beautiful property. One of my favorites in the portfolio. And now, finally, my family knew I owned it. Sarah's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Miss Blackwood? I hate to ask, but we have another site visit scheduled in 15 minutes. A couple looking at the venue for their anniversary party. Of course, I said. I'll get out of your way. Actually, Sarah said carefully, they specifically requested to meet the owner if possible. They're considering a significant event. Their company's 50th anniversary gala. Could be a very lucrative booking. I checked my watch. I had a conference call at 4, but that gave me an hour. Set it up, I said. I'll stay for the meeting. Thank you, Miss Blackwood. Sarah, I said as she turned to go, call me Emma. Miss Blackwood makes me feel like my mother. He grinned. Will do, Emma. I settled into one of the venue's elegant chairs to wait, pulling out my phone to review the Westbrook renovation proposals Marcus had sent over. Numbers and floor plans filled the screen. The practical details of building something real, something lasting. My phone buzzed with a call. Mom's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring through to voicemail. Some conversations needed time. Some revelations needed space to breathe. For now, I had a business to run, a property to show, and a future to build. One that had nothing to do with my family's expectations and everything to do with my own quiet competence. The same competence they'd spent 29 years underestimating. Their mistake, not mine. And now finally they knew it.